What's gonna work?
Teamwork.
Beautiful. And that's how it's gonna begin.
You know, this makes me feel good because when you guys go back and listen to this recording, it's going to be filled with such positivity and energy. It's going to be great. I know one of you jokers is going to go like make that like your cell phone ringtone or something. All right, so yeah, basically this whole section deals with different branches of Protestantism. Okay. Which is an important distinction because basically what we're seeing happen is a schism in the church. Actually, it's not even, I believe it's pronounced schism, but you get what I mean. The Protestants are, however, not unified in the sense that we think of them as being one church. They're not. They're a group of different churches. Luther is, of course, founding Lutheranism, while John Calvin is going to be founding, guess what? Wait for it. Calvinism! You know, it'd be really weird if he's like Mormonism. By the way, you guys know where Mormonism was founded? Which country? USA. Yeah, what about the Amish? In Europe. Well, technically it's a derivative of there. But anyways, it's interesting to see kind of like where these different faiths kind of are created. In fact, I've got a textbook down here from one of my college classes about religions of the Americas and Canadian stuff. But anyways, different groups took hold of Luther's ideas in different ways, and not all of them were supported. For instance, probably one of those infamous groups was the Anabaptists, who believed such things as like, you know, you shouldn't go to war. Who believes that, right? And they also believe in crazy things like, you know, you shouldn't baptize children, things like that. Which, by the way, you guys know, at the time, what was the belief of what happens to a baby who dies? Like, if a baby dies in you know, due to disease like 3 days after birth, what happens to the baby? What happens to his soul? Goes to hell. Yeah. True story. Or, at best, goes to purgatory. Well, not really purgatory, that's not true either. Still goes to hell, but, okay. Have you guys ever read Dante's Inferno? Okay. It's an interesting work of fiction, right? Basically, it describes hell and all the various layers of it. And the very first layer is basically, it's hell, but it's not really filled with punishment. It's limbo. It's basically where you go and nothing's really that bad, but it's not great either. That's where the babies go. Because they haven't been baptized, but they haven't really done anything bad, but they're still born with original sin. So that's kind of where they go. So basically, the tradition was the second that baby was born, you baptize it. Right? The Anabaptist said it's not fair to do that because they can't make that decision. Like, basically, how can a baby who basically can't really do anything make the decision to devote itself to God and Jesus Christ? But the rest of the Christian world, Christendom, believes that the baby goes straight to hell. So these are like dangerous radicals, right? The Anabaptists have to be stopped. On the other hand, you've got groups like the peasants in 1524 who rebelled against the feudalist system, saying that, you know, we don't have to do all that and all this thing. Basically, their major thing was they wanted to see land fairly distributed, which that's ridiculous. Why should the peasants, you know, live it? You know, stop at that. So they were slaughtered. You know, and that's the thing I think it's funny about people are like, you know, things were better back then. Well, they weren't. That is a freaking lie. Times are never better than they are now. That's what progress means, you know? It's just that we have this really kind of rosy, you know, glasses view of the world because of nostalgia, you know? Anyways, yes, questions, Sarah? Sorry, what? No. Well, like, for instance, non-Christian empires, or do you mean like people specific? Like, you know, if there's like an atheist or something, I don't think they're going to completely change everything because the Western tradition's based on it. But, like, for instance, the Muslim calendar is not based on Christ at all. No, I don't remember the exact year they say it is, but it's not the same. Also, it's a lunar calendar, so it's slightly different as well. But No, different cultures have different backgrounds. When you get to East Asia, no man. Confucianism is sort of like the main thing in China, but you have to ask someone from there a little more specific. That being said, internationalism kind of makes that disappear quite a lot because it's really just agreeing on one thing, so it really kind of goes from there. That being said, sometimes it can lead to interesting things. One of these days I'll get around to, I'll show you guys this too, but I had a friend who, I've told you about him, his wife's Japanese and he's Jewish and they have an interesting relationship. Well, they went and visited her family over the summer, and basically he was like, yeah, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks, so you can't get a hold of me, but that's where I'm at. And so I asked him a favor to basically take a photo of and record everything he ate there for a week. And so he went like way above and beyond, took all these like restaurant photos and all sorts of really neat stuff. But the thing is he was uploading them to me through stuff on Facebook. So around 3 o'clock in the morning, my phone started blowing up because he was uploading the images or whatever. So I just had to shut my phone off at night. There's one time I came back, it was 90 pictures. It's like, oh my God, dude. He's like, yeah, well, I got busy. Really good stuff. Anyhow. But other than the rebellion, there was also a series of holy wars that broke out between the 1540s and 1530s that was ended by the Peace of Augsburg in 1555. And one of the principal changes that the Peace of Augsburg did is it solidified Protestantism as a faith. Basically what happened is a lot of these different principalities that turned to Protestantism were given the right to determine their country's faith. Now that's not, by the way, the same thing as freedom of religion. Freedom of religion is like you can be whatever faith you want in a country like the United States, right? But this was like this country can choose that only this faith is allowed. That's what the Peace of Augsburg did. But the fact that Protestantism was allowed and you weren't going to get, say, burned at the stake was a big change. And so we see the beginnings, if you will, of religious freedom. And Calvinism. One of the main ideals that you need to know for Calvinism is predestination. Okay. Predestination is literally just like it sounds. God already knows whether you're going to heaven or hell. Okay, that's it. Now, the significance of that's a little trickier. Because ultimately, who cares, right? I mean, if God's already determined it, then does that mean nothing you do will affect it?
No.
Well, not exactly. It's thinking it in the wrong order. The way that you look at predestination is it explains why bad people are bad people. Basically, one school of thought would be bad people are making bad choices, right? In predestination, bad people make bad choices because they're bad, right? But that's already determined. It's not a matter of they could choose to do the right thing, they won't because they're a bad person, right? Yeah.
So, like, there's basically that person was born to be a bad person?
Yes. To put it in other words, if you guys have ever seen Les Miserables, let's say if you haven't, you will, because I'm going to be showing it to you this year. There's actually a scene where Inspector Javert is talking to Jean Valjean. It basically says that Reformation is a discredited fantasy, that people are by nature lawbreakers or lawbiters, and they cannot perform their lives. That's a predestination type of viewpoint, and it's still around. You can see this in the news, how people talk about, well, this person, this terrible person, but maybe they say a bad choice, But that's different viewpoints, right? So going ahead, Calvinism, by the way, very, very popular in Scotland. John Calvin, I believe, was Scottish, although don't quote me on that. Someone's like, man, he was okay, we were right, I don't remember. But the important bit is that it's limited to faith there. And in addition, Calvinism got underway in Geneva, where they established a Calvinist theocracy. You guys know what the word theocracy means? It's a government run by religion, right? So, for instance, Iran today is a theocracy. Well, in this case, Geneva was a Calvinist theocracy, where he was basically put into place in his authority, And the main ideals were morality, hard work, and discipline. One of the things you'll find about Protestantism in general is there's this big push for these kinds of things. In fact, it's kind of interesting in our own history, the history of the United States, because do you guys know what religious groups came here? Like, what was the one that's like, the Pilgrims were? Do you guys know what religious tradition they followed? I mean, Christianity, obviously, is the branch. They were Puritans. Specifically in England, the Puritans controlled the government. Basically, everyone hated them, kicked them out, and then they went to the Americas to escape all the persecution that they learned by pissing everybody off. But one of their main things was basically, if it was fun, it was sin. It's like, for instance, they made it illegal to like cook with you. And it's illegal to dance. And it's illegal to drink. And all these things that people really like to do. And so eventually, when they lost power, there was a huge pushback against them. Yeah, absolutely. Because the other thing about that is okay, so the guy, we'll talk about him later, the guy who ended up taking over was a dude named Oliver Cromwell. We're actually going to talk about his ancestors here in a minute. Oliver Cromwell was a Puritan, and basically everyone really liked Cromwell. Well, not everyone, that's an over-exaggeration, but enough people liked him that he was the majority. Once he died, everyone's like, yeah, screw that. And they brought back the king whom Oliver Cromwell had executed. What? How did they bring him back? Not the same thing. What I mean to say is that king's son was put on the throne. Yeah, you don't have to hold your hand, just go. When that happens. So please find out. Appreciate it. Yeah, because I get to talk and I can't stop. Anyways, so Cromwell, once he's gone, Charles II comes in, he knows he's got to like establish his power base because they execute his father. So he's not really means to rock the boat. So he's like, yeah, we're gonna bring back beer, we're gonna bring back, the shows, we're gonna bring back everything, we're gonna entertain the pants off everybody. I was like, yay! And he knew how to work the crowd. He did not get his head cut off. So well done, Charles II. Anyhow, so this whole idea of morality, discipline, things are all well and good. The thing is it doesn't last. But that mentality of gotta work hard, it's almost like a sin to not work hard, very much part of our culture. Which seems weird, because like when we're a bunch of lazy Americans, no, not really. We talked about that in geography, based upon like other European traditions. I mean, if you look at like, the other major European countries, for Germany, France, we work the pants off them because essentially we had this belief that if you take vacation, you're a terrible person. Which seems weird because, like, yeah, we can go on vacation, but the average American doesn't take that much vacation. I think they take at most a week. Average is only 2 days per year. They take a vacation per year. I mean, you guys get more vacation being in schools, right? But if you look at, like, say, France or Germany, it's like 6 weeks. It's better. It's interesting seeing people I know who are foreign-born moving to the United States to work, and there's like flabbergasted, like, what do you mean I don't get that much vacation? It's just like, they can't believe it. Like, I remember a guy who was telling me he was trying to get this one job, and they said, we'll pay this much, and you get a week vacation. He's like, I would take a pay cut if I get more vacation. And they're like, no. He's like, I can't understand why they would want to pay me more, but not have me gone. This is kind of an interesting mentality. But it's just kind of an interesting thing because of this whole Protestantism morality thing that came into America. Now, obviously there are differences. People are different ways, but it's kind of interesting as far as like trends go. Okay, that is really it for that. Believe it or not. The only thing I think we forgot to talk about was Henry VIII. Did we talk about him and his wives and all that stuff? Yeah.
He had 8 wives.
No, 6.
6 wives beheaded, wives beheaded, survived.
Yeah, it's it. Yeah, divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, right? But no, you got it. You got the thing. So let's get right down to the story of him and his wives, right? So his first wife was Catherine of Aragon, right? Catherine of Aragon was the daughter of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain. Very, very Catholic, right? And, okay, so the marriage was actually one of political need. You see, Henry was not supposed to be king. It was his brother, who I believe his name was Richard. but his brother died right after marrying Catherine of Aragon. And the whole point of that marriage was to unify the thrones of Spain and England in a marriage. So it was not going to do to have that marriage slip away. So they actually went to the Pope and asked if Henry could marry, essentially, his sister. Because like they took the whole sister-in-law thing as legal. Like they are now your brother and sister. So it'd be like, yeah, can I go marry my sister? And so the Pope basically had to get involved, and there was lawyers and all this kind of stuff. They said, well, did your brother and his wife play Scrabble? Because that was illegally fine. Like the marriage is not legal. That didn't happen. True story. It's up to states. The U.S. still isn't. Play Scrabble.
Oh, boy.
Oh!
I thought you said play Scrabble. So did I. You get what I'm saying. So what happened is, basically, she swore that they never played any games, like, it just didn't work out. And so the Pope said, okay, fine, so he approved the marriage. The thing is, Henry was, well, to put it bluntly, he was an man-whore. He slept around a lot. And the thing is, this was kind of expected for kings to do. Queens were supposed to deal with it. And so she did. She's like, whatever. And largely that has to do with inheritance. Because if, let's say, the king had a child with another woman, right? That was a bastard. A bastard cannot inherit. They are not a legal child. They're not born out of wedlock, so they are not, I mean, it's obvious that's not, between the king and the queen. Well, if the queen doesn't sleep with someone gets pregnant. It's not a bastard.
Oh no, it's still a bastard, but how will they know?
She'll be pregnant.
Well, yes, but how they know it's the king's? How do they know it's not the king's? That's the exact answer. They don't. They wouldn't know. Well, no, my point is that it was perfectly permissible for the king to go sleeping around because any children he produced with other women could not inherit. If a woman did, they might inherit. They might be the next king of England. Yeah, that was a severe bad thing. So understand this from the get-go. If you slept behind the king's back, that was punishable by death. That was treason.
What about the opposite?
No.
Honoring what?
Remember, it didn't matter because the bastard from that union couldn't inherit anyways. It wasn't a crime against the state. That's what treason is. Now, let's fast forward, shall we? Believe it or not, Catherine of Aragon, like, she's bothering her, but at the same time, she's like, whatever, he'll do whatever he wants. And she was totally in love with her husband. But he fell in love with another woman, Anne Boleyn. Now, here's the thing why Anne Boleyn scared the pants off of a lot of people. One, she was raised in the French court. France and England don't get along very well. And number two, she was a Protestant. And so, he and she are kind of starting this fling, but she's like, I'm not content to just be your mistress. I want to be your wife. Okay. And so he's all like, all right. So he basically goes to the Pope and says, I want to annul my marriage to Catherine of Aragon. Annul basically is a legal divorce. And the Pope says, no. Now, the reason isn't because he really cared about Catherine. It's because he was currently a prisoner of Charles V, who was the Holy Roman Emperor, who, guess what, was the nephew of Catherine of Aragon. So if he allowed the divorce, then he was going to get killed by Charles. So he's like, no. So Henry's like, whatever, Pope, you can't tell me what to do. Bam! Church of England, and creates the Anglican Church. The main difference was that instead of the Pope being the head of the church, the king was. So he granted himself a divorce and married Anne Boleyn. Now, what people will say sometimes is that he divorced Catherine because she didn't give him a boy, and that is partially correct. That's partially correct. It's more to it than that for obvious reasons. But the other reason is not just because he was sexist. He did love his daughters, but here's the thing is, a couple of years back, his father fought a civil war because there wasn't a male heir, and it devastated England.
thousands died in the Civil War, the War of the Roses. And so what happened was, he was really scared that if he didn't have a strong male heir, there was going to be another civil war. And frankly, Catherine was getting too old to have any more children. So, he's happily married to Anne Boleyn, but here's the thing is, she starts trying to wield political power. She starts trying to get her Protestant friends in position of power. And remember, one of the things we learn very quickly about Henry, he does not share power. He, in fact, tells her, do not go behind my back. If you try to do that, it will be very bad for you. Right, we'll get to that in a second. So basically what happens is, she doesn't really listen because, again, at first everything's great, then he starts sleeping around again, and she cannot stand it. So she starts trying to use everything in her power to stop it, and that's enough of a division between them for her enemies, remember the Catholics, to start talking to Henry's ear like, dude, she's totally sleeping behind your back. He's like, no, she wouldn't do it. No way, trust me. He basically says, I don't want to hear it. Don't tell me that again. Well, then she has a miscarriage. And the baby is born so premature that it doesn't look human. It's all like deformed and mangled and things like that. And so he looks at it and says, this is not an actual human child. She's a witch. And so he starts kind of listening to what these people are saying. He's like, oh yeah, totally. She was sleeping with her own brother. She was sleeping with dogs. Like, there was like an orgy in the house. And he believes them. And remember, cheating was punishable by death. So she was executed for treason, not for not giving him a boy. All right, so the next slide we had, I don't remember the name from this point on, so I'm just going to say next girl. She actually really loves Henry, and he loved her right back. They took it kind of easy into it. And the thing is, she was a Catholic. So the Protestants are like, oh crap, here comes all the oppression. And there was some kickback, but really not all that much. Not as much as we'll see it comes later. And so basically things are pretty groovy, and she even gives Henry a son, but dies in childbirth. And so he is totally heartbroken. He wears black for a year. He's like, I'm done. I'm gonna get really fat, get diabetes, and die. Like, I'm serious. He goes from swole, healthy dude to incredibly overweight. Of course, the other reason for that is an injury, but anyways, we're getting well, basically, seriously, dude, he's such a loser. But anyways, so his advice was dude, you have to get married again. No, you have to for the kingdom. You have to. There has to be a queen. He's like, fine, whatever you recommend. And so they recommended, because remember, there's still Protestants in place. They're like, we should marry this, princess from Germany. Germany was Protestant. So they're like, I'm a Protestant in there, right? So he sees her, it's like, oh, hell no. They're like, what's wrong? She looks like a horse. He was so trash-talking. He's a big fat dude trash-talking this girl. You got to feel bad for her. She's actually a really pretty lady, but, whatever. He had to get so drunk they almost passed out at the altar just to marry her. If they didn't follow through with any Scrabble or anything like that. And so literally a month later he's like, yeah, nah, we're divorced. And so she's like, okay, I'm gonna go get killed at home. Because basically the people back at home would have executed her for failing to align marriage. He's like, don't worry about it, you're my sister now, it's all good. So she actually ended up marrying someone else who lived happily ever after. One of the few people in the story who does. Next up was another wife, who was a young lady, totally he was all into her, but she was like, oh, it's fat and gross, I don't want any of that. And she actually fell in love with somebody else in court. Now here's where things get really bad. She probably was sleeping around. Anne Boleyn absolutely was not. This girl was, almost guaranteed. And she made a critical mistake. In one letter back home, she basically said, to her lover, once my husband is dead, I'll marry you. You can't say that about the king, man! Oh my God. So, the thing is, I hate to say she was pretty, but she was dumb as a box of hammers. Bless her heart.
Bless her heart.
You say whatever horrible thing in your mind, when you said, oh, bless her heart. So anyways, she obviously was found out next for treason. Ex-wife survived him. Weird thing is she had been married 4 or 5 times before. She was kind of like the thing is she wanted to marry somebody else, but I was like, no, you got to marry the king. Like, oh, fine. And did it, and then he died, it was all good. You know, basically, she was someone else for him to be married to until he died. That's what happened. But here's the thing is, his son, you know, the guy's strong, male leader, yeah, he dies like 3 years later because he was a very sickly child, and he was only like 16 or somewhere when he became king. So he didn't last very long. So the eldest daughter, Mary Tudor, who is the daughter of Catherine of Aragon, the first wife, and Henry, she becomes Queen of England, and she is fervently Catholic. She sees what the Protestants did to her mother and goes on a rampage, burning people at the stake, just killing people left and right. She actually got a nickname, Bloody Mary. That's where that comes from. And here's the thing is, it was looking like this was going to be her reign, right? And she got pregnant with her husband, except it wasn't actually pregnancy, it was a tumor. She got cancer. And she dies. So the next one in line, nope, no baby there. The next one in line is Queen Elizabeth I, who is Protestant. Remember the daughter of Anne Boleyn in Italy? Now she's the queen. And she kind of breaks this cycle of shenanigans because she never marries. Now that being said, calling her the Virgin Queen, yeah, no. I mean, there's so many rumors about who she was sleeping with. I mean, she kind of had her father's thing going on, but whatever. Get on with your bad self, whatever, you know. But she never marries, and she doesn't have any children. But her reign is kind of like the golden age in England, right? So that's kind of dysfunctional family, right? And that's not even as bad as Henry V, I think. Because Henry V actually fought several wars with his wife. I don't mean like, you know, they argued. I mean, they had armies like trying to kill each other, and he imprisoned her, but only allowed her to come to court twice a year, in Christmas and in Easter. So can you imagine that awkward family gathering where all the sons are trying to figure out how to shiv the father, and he's just kind of like, whatever, I'm better than all y'all, and like, you know, going to pick up his wife at prison. It's like, oh honey, how's your accommodations? They're wonderful, thank you. Are you ready to begin the festivities? Of course. Meanwhile, he's like got like a mistress like a third of his age. And just like, oh my, can you imagine the Christmas? What that would be like? Oh, by the way, there's a movie about that called The Lions in Winter, and it's oh my god, I think I forgot my actors and actresses right. King Henry is played by freaking Sir Patrick Stewart, and I believe it's Meryl Streep is the Queen of England, Eleanor the Aquitaine, who was this phenomenal lady in her own right. I mean, the thing is, the son she wanted to be king was Richard the Lionheart. Guess who becomes king of England? So she wins! You know, it's just amazing. Yeah, highly recommend that. Oh, there's something
Is courthouse like their house?
The court is where, well, I mean, it's usually held at their house, yeah. But basically, it's a gathering of all of the nobles. It's basically a constant party. Party, politics. Okay, take care, guys. Winning.